Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of our Work Together Anywhere series, where in this webinar we'll be talking about how you can gain cash visibility, accuracy, security and control with accounts payable. I'm Bobby White, and alongside our resident experts we'll be talking you through automating your accounts payable and how this is becoming even more important to you gaining competitive advantage. So as I mentioned, over the last year or so we've been running these webinars with the aim of helping you navigate through the latest challenges and move forward on a stronger, more agile footing into 2021 and making sure that we're building back better. The panel today will be sharing industry insights from sources such as Forbes and others to give you best practice on how you can gain visibility, accuracy, security and control over your cash position and improving how you spend and invest your cash to get better returns. So as we go through, we want to make the session as interactive as possible. So please use the Q&A box to ask any questions you have throughout, and we'll go through all of these at the end. And also we have a list of resources which you'll see in your through downloading the resources tab, which include a variety of different materials. Here you can see some of the materials that you can get from starting with our research report with the Conscious Workplace. So this was from our survey of a variety of different employees and managers to understand what the challenges are, not only now, but in the near future too. So by going through this, you'll learn what these challenges are and about how we can improve workplaces, processes, also remote working capability in your infrastructure to make sure this is fit for purpose in building back better next time around. And here you learn as well that technology, and what we'll go through today, is through process automation, you can actually improve your competitive position and have more cash to invest into getting those better returns. So we have a whole suite of different materials, such as an ebook. You can see more on our thought leadership from Rico Insights. And as I mentioned, that we've been doing these webinars for over a year now, so you can get any of these different webinars that have been related to remote working, cloud and infrastructure, smart and safe workplace, and what we'll be going into in a little bit more detail today within process automation. Here's an insight into what we've been covering over the last year or so. So starting with reacting and actually what our customers are able to do since purchasing our process automation solutions is they've been able to show much more resilience in facing these enforced remote working challenges. So along with this and looking how we can help you, guide you towards being more productive, reducing cost and also improving competitive position, we'll go through this and the element of process automation and accounts payable today. So introducing the experts, as I mentioned at the start of the show, we have Ed MacArthur. Morning, Ed, and Keith Tabor too. Morning.
Morning, Bobby.
Look, who I'll hand over to now to take you through the world of accounts payable and how this can impact your business.
Excellent, thanks, Bobby. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving us your time today. Hopefully we can give you some food for thought by the end of our time slot. Today we're going to be talking about automation and digital transformation in finance. We picked accounts payable automation because it's an area we have lots of experience in and our customers always seem to want to start there. We'll talk a little bit how and why businesses need to consider digital transformation now more than ever, for hopefully showing you how this kind of solution can bring you real benefits to your bottom line. We set aside a little time for questions at the end, so please feel free to use the chat box to submit them, and Keith and I will do our best to answer them. But let's first consider the situation we're all in. No one knows when the old normal will come back. Employees working from home, at least some of the time, is likely to be the primary business model going forward for many organisations. This is not just due to COVID, which has obviously accelerated the trend, but due to skyrocketing commercial real estate prices in cities, improved technology, and a desire for a better home-work balance. The problem is the speed of the change has meant we've put a huge strain on existing IT and processes, but businesses still need to function. We all need to ignore talk of returning to normal. Right now, CFOs have the opportunity to create a whole new and improved normal. It is likely a once-in-a-career opportunity, and CFOs are at its epicenter. One of the primary lessons for all executives from this last tumultuous year was that we cannot control or even predict certain outside events. The best CFOs can do is create flexible business models that can react quickly and decisively if conditions deteriorate, while also being able to capitalize aggressively on opportunities as they emerge. Forbes believes that few, if any, investments can give an organization a sustainable competitive advantage like an investment in technology. Where else can an organization invest that will increase top-line growth, operational efficiency, and employee collaboration? Indeed, many CFOs viewed the chaos of last year as the justification to make a long-term technology investment on which they'd previously been procrastinating. Those companies that finally made the investment in 2020 will reap the rewards in FY21 and beyond. Building upon this momentum this year is a key priority for finance chiefs, and those who did not make the investment last year nevertheless realise how important a digital strategy is to the health of their organisation and are planning to do so this financial year. After years of promise, artificial intelligence, machine learning are finally having the impact many predicted. Robotic process automation, or RPA, is a high priority for finance chiefs. Automation tools are plentiful, and CFOs and the teams are embracing them. Things like cybersecurity has never been more important, especially as work from home continues to evolve. Data analytics tools are far more powerful than they were even a few short years ago and can be transformative as CFOs are asked to make better decisions faster in a world that has never been less predictable. It is clear that CFOs have a variety of areas to choose from, and if they wish to shepherd their companies to the technological forefront. Digital transformation is an ongoing focus for every organisation and has driven considerable change in the workplace. But have you taken care of the fundamentals? For instance, your accounts payable process could be consuming unnecessary time and resources. It might be standing in the way of growth. Many forward-thinking organisations are looking to the future and working on plans to facilitate that growth. Yet to make mission-critical decisions in a challenging world, leaders with a growth mindset need a clear financial picture. Without real-time view of their cash position, investment decisions are difficult to make. A manual accounts payable process cannot provide CFOs with this vital information in real time. Automating the accounts payable process will not just provide immediate access to cash visibility, forecasting, and reporting, it will also transform what has historically been a very manual, time-consuming business administration process. It's this area we're discussing today, and one of the first steps on any transformation journey. Now, Keith, I believe you have some insight into the areas many of our customers are looking into.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. So here are just some topics that we often discuss with our clients during reviews and when we're looking to optimize their financial processes. So we can look at these as some of the takeaways for you to have a look at when you're considering your own processes. Or of course, you can always contact your Rico account manager and we can have that conversation with you as well. So I'm just going to pick out a few. So just going from left to right, that I often feel that makes the most impact. Excuse me, makes the most impact when you're looking to start optimizing some of those processes. So if we start by looking at the far left, why is it important to review how you're receiving and distributing invoices? And I think understanding how invoices are received and distributed provides a great insight in how you can start to optimize that process. So if you're receiving 100% of your invoices in paper, it's extremely inefficient. On the other side of that, if all your invoices are received electronically, then this removes steps and can really help to start to optimize the process further down the line. So it's a really good starting block and one where we always start the conversation. So how are you receiving your invoices? And this will lead on to other further conversations as well. And then the other area that I think is really valuable to look into is how you're chasing the paper around the organisation. If you're receiving paper invoices coming in, or even actually PDFs coming in, how are you managing that moving forward? And again, this is a great opportunity to improve the situation if you're doing that via emails or what have you. So chasing paper is manual by definition. It's very difficult to manage, and you can't really receive insights into your cash position at any one time, if you've got invoices all over the place, very easy to lose. And as I say, if you've gone down the step of then scanning and emailing those invoices, it's a great start, and that's the start of the process, start of optimizing that process. But that also comes with its own issues, and again, it's very difficult to manage and get that insight. So if you are chasing paper, have that conversation, find out that process, look at your approval levels, that kind of thing. And this is where we can start looking at optimizing and automating that process. And I think the other area that we see with our clients quite a lot, and we talk through, is around the three-way match of reconciling the invoice to the delivery note to the purchase order. And if you're spending time searching for and looking through delivery notes, filing cabinets, speaking to colleagues, then this is an area that we can really see optimized quite a lot. And it's not just within the operational side of this process, but it also comes audit time, because you've got immediate access to the documentation, the related documentation. So it saves you time throughout the year, but come audit time, it can also save you a great deal of cost as well, because you have everything at your fingertips. So if you've got multiple systems producing or capturing delivery notes, purchase orders, invoices, then by bringing them together in a platform that's digital and easy to search, then the gains can be really big on that side of things. So when you're looking at yourselves, we always like to start by breaking down the AP processes into steps. Asking the right questions will highlight where the opportunities are to optimize and to save you time and money, of course. And all these questions are relevant to companies of all sizes. It doesn't matter if you're processing a few hundred invoices a year, or in some case of some of our customers, millions of invoices a year. The productivity gains are greater with the volume, of course, but there's gains to be had across any organizational side. So we just want to share with you a short video. So recently we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to hear from Rachel Stokes, who's the CFO of Ricoh UK. And this was during another discussion about optimizing finance. And Rachel talks about the importance of accounts payable process for us, but which I'm sure will resonate for many of you on the call as well. She gives a very broad view of accounts payable. So, if we start the video, Bobby.
Morning everyone, and Ian, as you know, we're nearly over the line with our year end, so this is very timely and quite exciting, and you'll see how we've actually demonstrated we can walk the talk in terms of what Ricoh have done. So the first one is how important is accounts payable process to a CFO. It's one of our most important processes there is, and I'm not going to underestimate this. So we need to pay what we owe on time and in line with our terms. Now more than ever, this is a critical measure of the company's liquidity. So let me give you an example. What does that mean if we didn't get it right? So firstly, if we got this wrong, it would impact our credit rating. So credit rating, as we all know, in terms of a personal perspective, that's maintaining confidence in our ability to pay. If we don't get a good credit rating in terms of our borrowing, cost of borrowing would go up as a company. The second is good relationships with suppliers, as Ian has touched on, with our suppliers, not just today, but future negotiations for us to get the best deal. And as we're moving more into, as we are for Ricoh, more into third-party procurement, that more than ever now is very critical for us in terms of our future negotiations. And then the third area, Ed, to build on the points that you've made in terms of being able to do a purchase order, match it with a goods received note, and then an invoice. I don't know if everybody's aware, AP is the area that's most prone to business fraud. and having a robust and clear process and separation of tasks and approvals really goes a long way to prevent fraud. So in terms of, it's one of our most, to summarize on that key point, one of the most important processes there is in the finance organization. 3 big differentiators is, if we were to get this wrong, is our credit rating, our relationship with the suppliers, and business fraud. So those are really big things that all CFOs, as we're now under more scrutiny, as you've probably all seen in the press in terms of more work from our auditors, these are things that they are going to be looking at more closely. In terms of, is AP more important now than it has been in the past? I'm sure you'll all hear, with COVID, with the emphasis on COVID, cash is king. This doesn't just mean about our customers paying us on time. This is all around, it's around our liquidity and increasing visibility and control over our spend. So what this means for us is, I'll give you an example for Rico, one that we've done in ourselves during the pandemic, is with a strong AP system, we've been able to really start scrutinising what we spend, not with it across the whole board. And what that means is, with a system that allows us to pull our data, so it's around information. This is a big point on this, to be able to pull information, give us the visibility. It's allowed us to scrutinise what we're viewing as non-critical costs. And I'll give you an example, which is going to be all near and dear to any finance team or any CFO or FD you talk to. This has allowed Rico during this year to demonstrate to the tune of over £3 million of savings. So this is us being forensic, looking at what we've spent money on. We've either renegotiated or we've stopped spending. So an effectiveness allows us to maintain the value as well. So by doing this, and if we concentrate our spend, we look at who we spend with, we can then start to look at further discounts and rebates from our suppliers, and therefore not only support our cash flow, because I said cash is king, but also help drive value to the bottom line. So all of this, the underpinning of all of the comments that I've made, is an effective AP system.
So thanks very much to Rachel for taking the time to record that video in what's probably her busiest month of the year. I think you'll agree there's some great insights there from someone who actually A, uses our platform, and B, has to face these problems day in, day out. So how can we help with automating? Our platform, which is called DocuWare, allows you to capture data, process information, and deliver knowledge through integration with a host of back-end systems. We can handle inputs from email, existing digital archives, scanning in a document from a mobile or from eForms. These can all be intelligently indexed, i.e. information scraped from the document to create what we call metadata. This is the information you'd use to find a document at a later date, e.g. invoice number or email address, or to start off an automatic process that can route the document where it needs to go, classify what the document is so it resides in the right place, highlights issues, and applies business rules to that document. Once we've done all that, we can then integrate with other systems, ERPs or account systems, customer database, reporting software, collaboration tools, etc., etc. DocuWare is a platform designed to improve efficiency across any organization. Started life as a document archive, allowing you to scan, store, and retrieve key documents easily. And over the years, we've added intelligence and workflow, allowing the solution to be used to automate a myriad of business processes. More on that in a minute. DocuWare was the solution of choice when Rico Europe was looking to consolidate our various platforms. The solution was so successful that we bought the company in 2019. Rico Europe currently have one of the largest single DocuWare installations operating across multiple departments, including Accounts Payable, with over 8,000 users, which is about 20 terabytes of documents, and it's growing about 1 million documents per month. Rico Europe, of course, not the only major clients to utilize our platform to automate and transform their business process. With over 500,000 users around the world, we provide variations of this solution in different industries and in companies ranging from a few employees to thousands. That's the high-level stuff, and I'm going to take you through a typical process and show you how we helped. This here is going to show you a representation of an accounts payable process in a multi-academy trust that we recently helped. The original process, when we came in, was that the PO was manually created. Approval, again, is manually completed, which always was causing a delay as they walked around the several buildings, offices, and different schools that they covered. The PO is manually inputted, in this case into Sage and onto a network drive. Goods are then ordered via purchasing, again a manual process, and dispatched from the supplier. Delivery note and the invoice were then manually scanned in and captured together. The delivery note, the invoice and the PO are then manually processed by confirming correlation on each document, and the invoice is added to Sage to be paid and stored. This process obviously caused some potential areas for friction. At the first end of the order process, that process is entirely manual. Authorization is slow and based on staff pushing it forward rather than a system or a process. There are delays from the PO approval and purchasing, and it's highly dependent on humans to make it work. And then at the other end, there's not much we can do about the dispatch and the delivery note and how that comes in. But the three-way match part, that's very dependent on all the documents being in the right place with a high level of human effort to make sure we can find them. And errors can be created by, we all make mistakes. It's a manual process, it was slow and it was costly just to book it into Sage. And the storage of documents was completed by habit or best practice and not automatically. So we looked at this process and we came up with a solution using DocuWare. Here, DocuWare creates the PO using an e-form. It has the ability to create web-based forms that we use to generate that purchase order, which we can then drop into DocuWare to start a workflow. That authorization workflow, once the form has been created, is kick-started, and this can be based on any number of fields within the document, including the department or the cost center, and this can include multi-level of approvals depending on amount. Once we have all that information, we upload it into Sage automatically, and DocuWare can directly pass the data over. All the documents are then stored in DocuWare. I was helping this particular CFO put together their business case they needed to show their board. And we walked through a return on investment together and found that we could save 7 man days a month across her department. It's an enormous saving, I'm sure you agree. The only problem was once we did that, she wanted it the next day. So that's what an automated process can look like, how we can replace manual steps in finance. But Keith, what sort of benefits does automation and AP bring?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So for the next couple of slides, we're going to be looking at the 6 reasons why you need to look to automate your accounts payable process. So, I mean, here are some of the highlights, but let's look at that in a little bit more detail. So, Bobby. Thank you. So automated workflow. So automating approvals, like Ed was just explaining, and distributing work tasks saves a great deal of time and effort. Once the invoice is received into the system, there is little left to do until the invoice is ready for processing. So, you know, there's no chasing. The system takes care of that for you. If there's delays, it alerts you to it. If you want to, you know, push invoices out to a distributed workforce around the world, that's not a problem. That takes care of it for you. So this frees up a lot of your time to focus on more high-value processes and tasks, and it provides total visibility and control over your spend, because you know exactly what's in the system, you know where it is, you can understand the bottlenecks, and you can help further optimize where you see these issues arise. And the next point, I think, and this was something that you know, Rachel highlighted as well, it's about the auditability of your processes. You know, this is really important as the audit process is becoming more and more stringent, because everything is in one place. Because all of the workflows, the documents, they all have an audit trail associated with them. You can prove your process. Not only can you prove the process, but when you need to prove a document, that there was a purchase order, you know, all of this kind of thing you have to do. Instead of going to filing cabinets and pulling the information, it's available in one place. And in fact, for remote audits, you can even supply access to your auditor to find those documents themselves. So, you know, that again relieves a lot of pressure come audit time from your team, but it also speeds up the process. And auditors, as we all know, are quite expensive. So that can also save you costs as well. And I think the next point, and this is, I guess, one of my favourite points really in the process, is around improving vendor relationships. You know, when we look at the impact that not paying an invoice can have on the business further downstream, when we're looking at negotiating our contracts, when we're looking at possible discounts, rebates, as Rachel said, you know, having a really strong vendor relationship, knowing that you're a customer that pays on time and in full, goes a long way to help actually save you money down the line. Also improves the service that you can have with your vendors. And if you've got certainly if you're receiving goods and services, if you're receiving them quicker or in a more timely manner, then that improves the service you can provide further down the line. So I think this is one of the really strong areas that automation and optimization can bring. And then when we look at the effort of your team, and we mentioned right at the start of the webinar that actually, paper is really inefficient. It's not green, and we all have green agendas. We are printing, which costs money. We are then saving this paper in filing cabinets, which costs money, and the whole process of taking paper through the organisation is hugely expensive, and it's just inefficient. It wastes people's time. So, with a well-sorted AP solution, then we can capture those documents at entry, or even start negotiating with your suppliers that you want to receive them in a PDF email or something similar. And once we receive that, then the whole process is automated. There's no filing, the system takes care of that. There's no need for somebody to manage filing cabinets. That's taken care of. Once we've got it digital, we can share it digitally as well, and that's that supports the automation and the workflow side of an AP solution. So it's a really important part, and I think Ed touched on it as well. Is that once we've got it in a digital format, we can also save the manual entry of that data. We've got a fantastic tool within DocuWare called Intelligent Indexing, and that can work out that you're looking at an invoice and what information needs to come off of that invoice. So removes keying of those documents completely, and this can save a huge amount of time and error as well. As I think Ed said earlier, we're all human, we make mistakes. And when you're combining technology with cloud learning and AI to make sure that you're capturing the right information, then mistakes go down, and that can save quite a lot of headaches further down the line. And I think the last point on the 6 key points is going back to the secure storage of paper. So just by running this process, you're bringing your documents into one safe, secure storage facility. With that, you've got retention periods, so you never hold more data than you need. So 7 years to hold this information. After that, the system gets rid of it for you. It's using cloud. We've got multi-tenancy backup, so you can be assured that document's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to be affected by fire, floods, rodent damage, anything like that. It's going to be stored and available in a really secure way. So the last point I wanted to touch on this area is we're talking about AP, we're talking about financial processes, and there's another side to this. Is not just the document management part and the process management part of it, but it's your ERP system, your purchase order system, your finance system. So if we just look at some of the integrations that we have with our clients, so we can see there's some usual suspects there. We can see Sage, Oracle, also NetSuite, Oracle as well. We've done work with. We've got a lot of integrations into SAP as well. And we've done a lot more than this when we look at the integrations. But I would also, I'd always look at what our clients are using and what the best mechanism is to transfer data between both ways. If you want to see an invoice from your finance system by clicking a button, that's possible. if you want to transfer data from our platform into your finance system, so you can automate the posting of those invoices, that's possible. And we can also look at data coming into our system to enrich the documents that we've already got there as well. So that's possible. But what we always do is sit down and work out what it is that you need from that integration. So we've got some standard ones, but there are some quite interesting applications out there. And if you imagine, looking at your whole stack, it's not just finance. There could be CRM information. You could have warehouse information. And what we look at is seeing, can DocuWare be the gel, the glue that sits between all of those line of business systems to provide you some really rich content there as well. So over to you, Ed.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith. So just to sum up, automating your AP process and give you huge benefits. You can cut data entry by up to 95% as the system captures all data and relevant fields. You can take out the time of finding and checking POs against delivery notes, against invoice, as DocuWare does this all for you. You can automate that vendor onboarding process. All relevant documents are stored securely and compliantly. So you can improve approval time, as DocuWare can be accessed from any device anywhere. And you can also reduce your audit preparation time, as related documents are easy to find. All these benefits are yours with DocuWare. But don't just take my word for it. We've had some customers as well. So I'll just pass back to Keith and just going to talk about some of the things our customers have done.
Yeah, so instead of reading out these quotes, it got me thinking actually of a particular use case that we've recently been working on with one of our clients. And we've got many clients using the platform for AP, not just in the UK but across Europe. And we've got clients of all sizes. So as I mentioned from the start, AP is an area, is a process within any organisation that is fit for looking to streamline and optimize as well. But the one client that really sort of came to mind when we were talking about AP was one recently. They're in the services industry. We're just going through the implementation at the moment, so it's a very fresh in my mind how the process started, and it's really interesting. And it goes back to the first slide that I spoke on when I was talking about breaking down the steps and understanding where some of those bottlenecks are today, and then we can look at how we solve that. And in this case, we had a conversation with the CFO, and they're quite a large company as well. I'm sure you would have heard of them. And his problem in his mind was, I've got a real problem with invoices coming in via email. It's causing me a massive headache. Can you do something about my email? And so, of course, we had that initial conversation with them. And when we broke down the processes that they were going through, very quickly we established that actually receiving the invoices via email was the best part of their process, and the part that we would actually look to optimize and improve on. What happened after that was the way that the invoices were distributed, was approved, was signed off, was stored, and just managed through the steps. So if it was if it didn't match a PO, it would go into another folder. If it didn't do something else, they'd rename it and put it somewhere else. And it became a real management headache. And they were looking to employ more people to help support the process. And by looking and breaking down those steps, what we're able to do is actually say, you don't need those new people. We can automate that from the invoice to the sign off. This also opened up other conversations about different parts of the business, but around the finance team. But this was the key that we needed to solve, and we could easily solve it as well. And that's all using the intelligent indexing, workflow capability, storage capability. And what was really interesting with this, and Rachel again touched on it, is that the impact wasn't just on the finance team, but it was further down the line. So because of it was very easy for them to lose data, so lose invoices, which meant that they would be delayed in paying their suppliers. Now, if they were late in paying the suppliers, what would happen is one of their engineers would go to Screwfix or something similar and say, oh, I need this equipment. And they'd say, sorry, your account's on stop. Now, this is a big company and they've got a lot of clients. And if they're on stop, that means that engineer can't get the equipment they need to solve their client's problem. So AP was not just a finance problem, it was a business problem. And they were impacting customer services because they couldn't respond to their clients at times quickly enough. And this is why AP is such an important process. And often this is where we start with any business transformation project with our clients, because it can be the most impactful across the board. So building on that, building what we've discussed, we've highlighted some of the challenges that we see with our clients, and as mentioned earlier, visibility of risk and cash flow is key to most finance departments, and we achieve this through invoices being visible from the moment they hit the system. Streamlining the approval and matching process and speeding things up, it can make such a vast difference to your organisation. We're removing human error from the process because we're using AI, cloud learning to intelligently capture that data, that metadata, that invoice data, and optimising that process further down the line. It's very quick. Our technology is very quick to deploy, so the time to benefit is really impressive. So we can bring the system on, you can start benefiting from it, really quickly. And I suppose the most exciting thing for us is that whenever we talk to our clients about accounts payable, it's very clear that there's a good, solid business case. We can justify a return on investment very easily. And this is companies that, as I say, don't have to be big companies, big corporates, but SMBs, SMEs, they can also benefit. And that means that if we're providing a clear business case for it, then the system is almost cost neutral. But building on that as well is that we provide a platform for AP, but that's not all it does. There's so much more to the platform. So the investment you make in AP can be the foundation of your digital transformation process as a whole. And I think Ed's got some examples of that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Keith. So as Keith just mentioned there, we have focused on the finance department really because it is the area we often start with businesses. I think primarily because it's transactional documents, and as Keith mentioned, when it's transactional documents, it's a lot easier to prove that ROI. It's all tangible savings, not necessarily intangible. But we can apply this platform, Docuware, to a myriad of areas across your business. Whether it's purchase orders, as we mentioned a bit earlier, where we can automate manual ad hoc ordering processes with e-file forms and streamline workflows, or a sales process, where we can help streamline contact requests and eliminate the need for double or even triple entry of data into various systems, allowing salespeople to concentrate on what they should be doing, selling. Or a mail route, where we can digitize incoming mail for easy digital distribution and retrieval. Other areas we look at things like contract management, where we can keep on top of all contracts with automated retention policies. We mentioned incoming invoices today, as we can automate the digitization, processing and archiving of all incoming invoices, and remove those slow manual steps in finance. And finally, another area where we get a lot of traction is employee records. We can help securely centralize all employee records and use e-forms and workflows for onboarding, reviews and more. And we just streamline all those processes across your business. The beauty of using Docuware is that we can work across your organization, helping to fix issues in all departments. It's the same software, and most importantly, licensing that we use in all these areas. Hopefully, that's given you a little idea of how important document management is and how it can help any business improve efficiency and productivity. I'd like to thank you all for your time. FY21 promises to be an epic year for CFOs and companies they lead. The struggles of last year have taught us all many hard lessons, and these lessons should be used to create a faster, more flexible and competitive and ultimately more profitable organisation. With Rico alongside you, you can. Now I'm going to hand back to Bobby before we finish with a bit of a Q&A.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Keith. Also really interesting to get an insight from our CFO and Rachel too, and learn how important it is for CFOs and finance departments to be working alongside their IT teams to capitalise on that trend you were talking about, Ed, with digital transformation for CFOs in 2021. We often hear from CFOs that accounts payable, they often only hear of their accounts or hear from their accounts payable team when something goes wrong, but that's from all of those benefits that you're talking about, automating this process, going away, that actually this becomes a really value-added opportunity for getting more from your existing finance team. So just to summarize now, before we go into the Q&A, and before we do go into the Q&A, it's still not too late to submit your question. I see that we've had a few come through, but if you've got anything from what we've discussed in session, please do add it in. I'd like to just point you towards some other materials that you can learn more about automating accounts payable in your own time outside of this session, or when working with different colleagues from your organization, starting with the return on investment calculator that you can see on screen. So you simply by moving across the 5 different levers based on personalized for your business and your organization and how many invoices you're processing and other different factors, you can find out the potential payback for what Keith was talking about a couple of slides ago, and how you can start benefiting from that using the return on investment calculator, and also getting hold of our latest insights. You can hear more about DocuWare from some of those testimonials that Ed and Keith were talking about in our case studies, but really there's plenty of materials here for you to carry on the conversation, and of course you can reach out to your Rico account manager to continue the conversation and learn how this specifically will benefit your organization. So we'll head now to the Q&A. Thank you again for listening, and for those that have already submitted questions. So as I just look over to the tab here, I can see a few different questions coming for you, Ed and Keith. So first one really is around what other you showed a load of different ERPs on screen here. So the first question really is around, are there any other ERPs that we can help integrate with, or if it wasn't on that screen, does that mean that we can't implement this solution with them?
Okay, great question. So the first thing we always look at is, what do we mean by integration? So DocuWare has what we call open APIs at every stage of the process. So we can transmit data to other applications very, very easily. It may be just that all you need to be able to do your process is be able to post invoice information to the ERP, in which case that's very simple to do. It may be that you want a two-way conversation where we pull data from the ERP and match it against data within DocuWare. All these things are possible. It's all down to the ability of the account system to communicate with outside applications. Majority of modern ones can either do it natively through applications, through an API, or through an SDK, or in the case of Oracle, they actually have a complete online hub that you can use to have that conversation. Or some of the older ones might struggle a little bit, but most are quite open to be able to have that two-way conversation. So integration is fairly simple with most products, and in others we may just need to have a discussion with the vendor to see what we need to do to make it work. But having done this for a few years now, I have only ever come across a couple of Linux-based systems that we can't integrate with.
Interesting. It sounds like the right thing to do is just to open the conversation, because there's no harm in doing that, and it sounds like we can tailor it to whatever sort of solution anyone would want. And then Keith, there's a question that's coming here, building on what you were saying around how quickly this can be implemented. The question is, is there a number of days for how quickly this can be implemented? And from it must be someone from a finance department, because they're asking about how they need to train their finance employees. So do you provide help with that, or are they left to, do they have to do it themselves?
No, we provide everything they need to be up and running as quickly as possible. When we look at how many days it takes to implement, you know, we've got a pre-configured solution that we can use as a base, and if we use that, it can be just a number of days. But we also talk to clients where we spent a lot more than that to deploy the system. So I think it goes back to what we were saying. Let's open up the conversation, and then we can answer those questions better. But I think the key thing is, we seek to understand the issue, and we make sure that we provide a solution to that issue. And we can deploy in a short amount of time, but if we really start looking at mapping it to individual processes and in internal processes, then this can take a bit more time. But the best thing to do is sit down with one of the team and talk about your process, and then we can be a lot clearer in that. But training, user acceptance testing, go live support, it's all available from our services team.
Brilliant, thanks. And actually that goes into what Ed was saying around the different processes that this DocuWare solution can apply to. So we've talked about automated accounts payable today. We've done webinars previously on inbound mail, HR automation, and also accounts receivable too. So Ed, you showed a few of those different departments there. Is there a department or process that you'd recommend starting with, or does it depend on the customer?
So most of the customers we speak to, we seem to start in finance with either looking at those transactional documents like delivery notes, goods received notes, and invoices. I think the reason for that is often that it is quite often a sort of manual heavy process anyway, and also it's quite easy, as Keith said earlier, to prove that ROI. However, we do have a number of customers where we've started talking purely about things like scanning and archive. So they've got loads of boxes of documents downstairs in a basement, or in one case with the customer I was talking to, in storage containers outside, and the key to get him talking to us is he went in to find some stuff for an audit to discover a rat's nest in one of the boxes. So it can come from the impetus can come from a lot of other places, but it doesn't. We always look to start on a single process that is the most problematic for the customer, to try and give them the best return they can possibly, and then we look to grow. So a lot of our customers, we go in, we fix that sort of accounts payable process for them, and over the next couple of years we do more and more, and the system just grows with them. It's all fully scalable, so you can start on 4 users, and if in 2 years' time you want to have 1,000 users, that's more than possible.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I mean the capabilities of this is huge, and you touched on it a little bit there, but the final question it looks like we've had in is around accounts receivable. So we've talked about accounts payable today. Is there something we can do to help or automate or help with that process too, so that end-to-end accounting process?
Yes, so we talked a lot about DocuWare today, but DocuWare is part of a suite of solutions that Rico offer. And the great thing about working with us, and is that everything we offer integrates beautifully. So we have a full sort of end-to-end solution where we can deal with the inbound and the outgoing documents within finance. Just as Keith said earlier, just pick up the phone, start the conversation with us, and we'll talk to you about how we can manage that. So there's all sorts of different solutions we can put together for you, and we'll find the most cost-effective way of solving those problems.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ed, and thanks again, Keith, for helping present more on this solution that has so many different benefits to our customers today. And that's it from us. So thank you for joining. And as we were talking about with the different resources and carrying the conversation with your account manager, then there's plenty more in the accounts payable automation journey. And hopefully we'll speak to you again on the subject.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.